Hello, this is Jan from the Fuzzy Duckling, bringing you Chapter 5, Part 2. In our last part, we learned how to draw this flower, this leaf, the fern. This is a different shape than we learned in Chapter 4. And we learned how to draw that. We inked it, and we have it all ready to color. So if you haven't done the first part of this chapter, move back to part 1 and learn how to draw this. Now, we're going to color this. And you know, you can color these any color you like. In this one, I used a Sharpie pink, a lighter pink. And I used a Sharpie darker pink, a Sharpie yellow, a Sharpie really bright green. Now these, sometimes you have to hunt for these, or even the neon green will work. I used a Sharpie blue and a Sharpie silver, a brown and a yellow. Then over the top of these, we highlighted and shaded with our colored pencils. Now, since I've done one like this, and as you see, we even did lines here and I did dots here, I want to do this a different color and see what it will look like. But you can use any color you want. Now for this one, I think I'm going to do a yellow and orange flower and see how that comes out. Of course, I'll still do green here, and then I think I'll do some different colors on my vase. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start coloring, and then again, I will either speed up or cut parts of our picture so it doesn't take so long for you to watch this. And you can work on your own picture that way without just sitting and watching me doodle and color. So I'm going to start out with my petals. I erase a few lines I think I missed when I erased. And I'm going to color this center right here with my yellow. Now, I really don't know how this will come out. I haven't done one with the yellow center. And I think I'll do a darker orange edge. And we'll just see how it happens. Now, you can use any color you want. You could do red flowers, blue flowers, purple flowers. You choose. So I'm going to start in on this and see what we get here. Now, if you remember from some of our other videos, I'm always super careful with yellow. Even though Sharpie is good at not smearing, it's good to also just make it a habit of not going over black lines unless you have to. Because if you've used a printer or a printer printout, or you've used a different kind of dark pen, it's sure to smear. Okay, I'm going to finish these yellow parts here. Okay, now I'm going to put my orange tips in. Now, if you haven't watched any of the other drawing videos, we talked about how to make your Sharpie smooth without a lot of streaks in it. I like to outline, ooh, see, I did a little mistake there. Outline around the shape I want to color in, around the black ink. And I've just gotten into the habit of not going over my black ink if I can help it. And then to fill in smoothly, just work in with tiny little circles. Don't draw lines like this. Circle and circle, tiny little circles. That's how you get your smooth background. Like in this paper, in this picture when we did this, see how smooth the yellow was? And the brown, it's from tiny little circles. Now it seems like this takes longer, but really I don't think it does. It goes faster than you think the more you practice this. Now I'm not sure what this is going to look like, but we're going to find out, aren't we? And you know, most of these, it's a good idea if you do these pictures 2 or 3 times and try them with different colors. And maybe put your flowers in a different place, or draw your leaves a little different, decorate your little vases different, and see what you can do with the knowledge you've just learned. Now I'm going to do my stem, my leaf, and my fern. Now, I want to remind you to take your time on your artwork. Don't hurry. Now, I'm hurrying because when I make my videos, my camera only gives me so many minutes before it will stop. So I don't always take my time, and I'm not as careful as I would be if I wasn't filming this. But unlike you, I kind of have to hurry if I'm going to get my whole picture in before my camera says no more room and you have to stop. So remember, take your time and enjoy the making of your picture. There's no reason to do art if you don't enjoy the doing of art. It's kind of like if you take music lessons. Anybody out there taking piano lessons? I used to teach piano. And what always seemed funny to me is that many times my students didn't like to practice. I loved to play the piano when I was younger and taking lessons. It didn't matter if it was practice or me picking what I wanted. I just liked to play. So practice was just fine with me because I liked to play the piano. But a lot of people, I don't know why they take lessons. They hate to practice. But why, if you don't like to play the piano, why learn to play the piano is my question. So it's the same with art. If you don't enjoy the process of making your pictures, why do it? You need to enjoy it and take your time and do a good job. Okay, there's my leaf and my flower with our first layer of colors. And I think, let's see again, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to make a pink vase with silver dots on it. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, there's my vase. And now, you notice on this, you can, if you want, take your Sharpie and color the whole page. That takes up a lot of Sharpie and a lot of time. And I actually like the look of where you just do some of the area around your picture. Notice I went yellow around it and part of the table below it. Now this part is time consuming and you have to have patience. And you have to do it with your tiny little circles or it's not a neat job. Now I'm going to start mine and show you how I start. And then I'm going to go off camera and finish it because this takes some time. And then I'll be back when it's done and we'll put in our highlights. Now, I'm not done with this color and the background's important. And I don't know how this is going to work, but I think I want to do an aqua color. And there is an aqua color in our Sharpies. And I'm just going to find out. This may work or it may not. This might be my perfect one. But you know, you never know things until you try them. And that's why you need to spend a lot of time in your art trying things. And pretty soon you find out what works or what you like and what doesn't work and things you don't like and the color combinations that make you happy. And I'm not at all sure that this is going to be contrasty enough like the black was, or the yellow. Yellow and black, well, I'm talking about black, if you remember this picture. The black was very contrasty, and the yellow is. Now, this aqua is not contrasting very much, so you may be getting an example right now of colors that don't work well together. And you know, it's okay that I show you my mistakes, because if I learned something from it, then you can learn something from it. Now see, I did an outline. Now I'm going to do tiny little circles around and around and around. Now what I can do, probably, if this doesn't contrast enough, is to do maybe some glitter glue around the edges. or some glitter pins around the edges to make it stand out more. What we try to do when we do something and we don't like how it turns out, don't just throw your picture away. See if you can figure a way to fix it and make it look good. And in the process of trying to fix it, whether you succeed or not, you will learn there. And drawing is a process of learning. And you won't like lots of things you do and other things you'll love. But keep drawing and use your mistakes as a way to learn something new. What would make this work? Now, I'll be honest, I do not like this background already near as much as I like the yellow or the black. But I'm going to go ahead and finish it and see what happens. So I'm going to go off camera. I'm going to finish this background here, and I'm going to put a little bit down here for my table, and I will be back. Okay, I have finished coloring my basic colors onto my picture. We haven't done things like highlighting and shadowing yet. And I'll be honest, I'm still not real happy with the background color that I chose here because I don't feel like it contrasts enough with this green. It contrasts well with this pink. It really shows up between the two and with the orange and yellows here. But I'm not happy with the green. So we'll have to see what we can do. We're going to highlight it and shadow it first to see how much that helps. But this is a good idea, and I usually do something on a picture that I didn't show you. But I didn't do it on this one. And if I had, I would have learned I didn't like the turquoise and green together. What you need to do while you're doing a picture is have a scratch piece of paper and go in and make, well, we call them swatches or little squares or circles of the color you think you're going to use. Now, I knew I wanted to do an aqua background. Maybe I'll make this longer. This doesn't have to be real neat. And then I need to check my colors against it. Now, I also knew I wanted to use some pink. So, come along here and let's see. I need to do a bit of pink to see what that would look like. And that looks great. This contrast. Contrast means it shows up well. One's light and one's dark, or one's bright and one's not. And this shows up well. So I would have known that that was great. But if I had tried my green, I would have instantly known that there wasn't too good of a contrast between my aqua and my green. And so I would have chosen a different color. I would have either done my leaf a different color or chosen another background. And this is something you really should do before you start coloring a picture. If you've decided what colors you'd like to use, try them out first on a scrap piece of paper because it can save you a lot of problems in trying to fix them. Now this really isn't bad. It's not terrible. But this doesn't contrast as much as I like it to. It's not near as good as this one where I did a yellow background with my green. Now a yellow background might have worked here since I had orange here. But with a yellow flower, I really felt that that would have been too much yellow. So I would have had to thought a lot deeper in deciding what I was going to use here. But we're going to keep going and see what it looks like when we're finished. And if there's anything we can do to make that contrast a little better or to set the leaf apart. So let's keep going. Our next stage, when you get to this part, your basic colors are laid down. We need to add a little bit of shadowing and some highlights. And that may make things be set apart well enough that it will look fine. So I'm going to start down here on my vase and I'm going to put a little shadow color with my colored pencil. And what you want to do is find a colored pencil that's just a little bit darker than the picture you laid down here with your Sharpie, and very gently and very softly and lightly add in a little bit of shadow here along the edge. Don't do it real hard. It's just a little subtle color here to make it look a little more lifelike. Now, in this lesson, we're not going to get into how you know where the shadows fall. That's all for another lesson. But one easy way to do it when you don't know is just to kind of give a soft outline around the edges of your object, which is what we're going to do here. Just a little bit of softness here. And this doesn't take too long. There we go. And that will do for this. And then I want to add just a little bit to my circles. So this is a silver. I'm going to use kind of a silvery slate gray just to add a little bit around. Well, this little top thing will have a little bit of shadow on it. And so we're going to add just a little bit of shadowing there. There we go. Okay, you could, if you wanted, add a little bit into this just to show a little bit of texture on your circles if you did circles. Now, if you did lines, I added just a little bit along the edges where we shadowed along the edges. I used the blue color instead of the pink color that we did on the pink. If you look at things closely, you'll notice that nothing is actually just a flat color. There's always variations because of the way the light falls on it. And just adding a little bit of variation to your work makes it more lifelike and pretty. So this is just adding a little variation to the color of my vase. And it gives it a little more lifelike, or like, you know, there's a light shining on it and there's shadows and things like that. So there we go, my vase. Now to put a highlight, I'd like to put a little bit of highlighting right up here. And I'm just going to use a white pencil for that. Kind of shows that some light was shining on it. There we go. And that's all I'm going to do for my vase. Now let's look on this leaf. I usually shadow the tip end and this end and along the veins. Now to show you something funny. This is the pencil I like to shadow with. Can you tell how hard I've used this pencil? Now I can still use it. It's not very easy, but what happened? It won't go in my pencil sharpener anymore, or it will disappear and I'll never get it out. But never fear, I have the same pencil in this size. But it's just to say, use your art supplies as long as you can. Don't waste anything. Use this. I use this pencil just about as long as I can. Now I'm going to have to go to my new one. And it looks like the number is the same, so the color is the same. The color on the outside of the pencil is a little different, so you need to go by what the lead looks like and the number. So I'm going to use the big one now. It'll be a lot easier. And what I do with my leaves, and you've seen it before, we talked about it in the other lesson, is let's just do a little bit of shadowing here on the tip end. This may make it blend even a little more with our background rather than helping that out. Then along the sides, just a little bit. And then softly put some here at the bottom. Again, this will make it more like it's a real leaf, not just a drawing. Now, these drawings we're doing right now aren't super realistic, but these kind of drawings are very fun to do. And it helps you learn how to draw super realistic if that's what you eventually want to do. All right. I'm going to shade a little bit along the center and up the vein lines. Now, you take your time, as I've told you many times. Take your time when you're doing this. I work fairly fast on these, and it's not my best work because my camera doesn't let me go too long before it either has to be recharged or I have to take the movie off of my phone to make more room and start a new one. So, all right. Now, I like to also put a highlight on this sleeve. I like to highlight with a yellow and just move along like this, right in the middle of those dark lines I made in the center of the veins. Add a little bit of yellow where the sun might be shining on your leaf. I just love what the yellow does to my leaves. It just brings them out, and you know, it might have solved my contrast problem too. There we go. Look at that. That leaf actually looks pretty good against my turquoise now. That yellow worked wonders, didn't it? I won't say that this dark green worked wonders, but the dark green made the yellow show up, and now that leaf looks pretty good now that I've highlighted it. Well, I'm much happier with it now. Now I also need to shade my stem a little bit. I like to come under these leaves, or under the petals of the flower, because they will cast a shadow on my stem. So we're going to darken that a little bit. And going to follow along. I'm just going to pick the right side since we haven't decided on a light source for this one, but we're going to make one side of the stem just a little bit darker. We will talk about light sources on some other lesson. And I'll pick the same side here. And we'll make it a little dark there. And a little dark where it goes into the vase. And now I'm going to come along with that same yellow pencil and add a little bit of highlighting on the left side. Look at that. Oh, that just brightened it up a lot. There we go. Well, I'm much happier with that now. Okay, let's move on to our flower. What you will need, again, is a color a little deeper than what you chose for the center. Remember, I chose yellow on that one. I chose pink on this one. So on this yellow, I need something that is a little darker than yellow. I chose kind of a very light orange. And on this orange, I'll need a darker orange. And I don't have that on the sheet of paper I showed you here. But if I had made all my colors on here like I should have, I could come along now and see what this looked like on top of the other colors and if it would work or not. So it's a good idea to always keep one of these by you. So I'm going to take this real light orange and we're going to shadow just a little bit here towards the center. Just like that, and up around the edge. Now, I really could have used a little lighter of an orange. And I would have one in my set, but unless you have a huge set, you probably don't have an in-between color like that. But a very light orange, this is working just fine. Now, when you buy your colored pencils, buy as big a set as you can so you have all kinds of colors to use for shading and highlighting. And my favorite brand is Prismacolor. But if you can't get Prismacolor, the Crayolas are pretty good too, and those you can get just about anywhere. Here we go. I always like my picture so much more once I've shadowed it and highlighted it. It just seems to bring it a little bit more alive to have this last step in here. And it doesn't take very long to do this step. There we go. I've shadowed that one. Now let me get my darker orange and we'll shadow right around the tips of my petals here. And you see, this dark orange wasn't dark enough. It's not doing much, is it? So I will have to find another orange. Okay, here's a darker one. Let's see if this was a little better. This is orange. Boy, I can't even say it. Anyway, that's not showing a lot. Well, if I press down, it's showing. We don't need it to show much. Here again, if I had experimented on my scrap piece of paper, I would have known that ahead of time, wouldn't I? As I say, I get in a little bit of a hurry when I'm doing these movies, and I should take the time to do my scrap paper. So this is a lesson for me, and it's a lesson for you. Take the time to do what we need to do to make our pictures as good as they can be. This will work, though. It'll work just fine. As I say, I'm getting happier with my picture now that we're adding this. Now we want to highlight our petals just a little bit. And I'm going back to my white. I love my white. I always used to wonder before I really got into art, why in the world there were white pencils? I mean, after all, my paper was white. But the white pencils are very important. They're great for your highlights. And if you're using colored papers, then you need a pencil that will give you white. I use my white pencil on almost every picture I do. See, these are just very subtle little lines. Don't press down real hard. And I'm even going to put a little extra white on top of this yellow here. It may not even be showing up on the video. There's a subtle difference, and you can see it in real life if you can't see it on the video. That gives a little life and sparkle to my flower. There we go. We're almost done. Now my center there, I think I'm going to take my black pen and I'm going to color it all black. And then I'm going to put some glitter in the middle of my flower instead of having those circles. Now you can do whatever you want there. If you don't have any glitter on hand, go ahead and color it with your marker or use a glitter gel pen. And there's several different ways to apply glitter. We won't get into that with this picture, but that may be something we want to make a video about. It's how to use your glitter. Because I just love what glitter does. And I love what glitter gel pens will do for a picture. Maybe we should try that on my fern down here, then you can kind of see. Although it just never shows up as well on the videos as it does in real life. Okay, now let's see. I'll put my glitter. What color of glitter? I guess maybe silver glitter, since there's a silver color there. Now you can buy glitters at a lot of your, even Walmart sells it. It's a good glitter. The only thing I have to say is this kind of makes a wide line. If you can buy Stickles, Stickle brand, why am I pointing it that way? If you can buy Stickle brand, this is the best glitter glue I have found. Now there's all kinds of glitter that you can buy from Walmart, and if you're working a larger project where it doesn't have to be a thin line, then those work just great too. But this needs to be fairly thin line, so I'm going to use my Stickles. Need to shake it up. Well, I shouldn't say thin line. I'm talking about dots, aren't I? Here we go. And I just carefully squeeze a little bit and dot on there. Now, I actually don't think this is showing up the greatest, but if it's in light, it will show up. But you may not be able to see that. I don't know. See if I get it close. Is there any glitter showing there? I hope so. Maybe a little bit. There we go. Now what we could do, I'm pretty happy with everything the way it is now. But we could use a glitter pen possibly here. and see if we can brighten that up. I have a silver glitter gel pen. What did I do with it? There it is. Now this is something I probably should try out over here on my scratch sheet. Let's see what the silver would do. Ooh. Actually, that might work. I think I'm going to try it. I might ruin my picture, but I'm going to try and see what that does to my fern here. Let's see if I can draw along my line and brighten that up so it shows up better on my aqua color. And when you've used glitter glue on your picture like I have up here, be careful and don't put your hand on it, because it will take quite a while for that to dry. Usually you should put your glitter glue on the very last thing you do, and then lay your picture up and let it dry for several hours, because it takes a while for that to dry. And I decided to do this part afterwards, but I should have done that first. But I'm going to be very careful here and try not to smear up my glitter glue. I have done that several times. I'll forget and put my hand right down on the glue. Well, I hope your picture is turning out the way you like it. And if you don't like it, finish it. Find out what did you learn about it so that you don't do that again, things that you don't like, that, oh, I'll never use that color again, or those two colors do not go together. Finish it, maybe keep it, and take a note on it of what it was that you learned. Put it in your art journal or your notebook so you can remember later on what it was or what color combinations you liked. And then draw another one and try a different set of colors until you find something you like and you have a picture that you're happy with. Now, I think that silver helped set my fern off quite a bit. I'm much happier with my picture now. Well, one thing I wanted to mention before we're done is filling in behind it. Don't try to do a real sharp edge. I like to do a very bumpy edge around it. Let's see if I can show you a little bit here. I just like to do my little round circles. And your little round circles will automatically give you kind of this lumpy, bumpy edge. If you try to do a perfectly straight lines here, it's almost impossible for one thing. And for another thing, it will just look funny. Where if we just do these little jagged edges, it seems to be very pretty. So I'm going to call this picture done. And I hope you've had fun drawing yours. Remember, we had 2 different ways to do this picture with different colors of Sharpies and different colors of colored pencils. But they're the same picture. But look how different that is. Now, if you remember, in our last lesson, I told you our next project is going to be this picture. I love this picture. And you have learned everything you need to know in order to do this picture. Now, this looks complicated and it takes longer, but you know everything you need to know how to do this. So I'll see you again when we start our next project, and I hope you have fun coloring and drawing these flowers. Bye-bye for now.